Welcome to the George Washington University Student Employment Training for New Hiring Managers and Supervisors. We're thrilled to partner with you in supporting one of our most valuable campus resources, our student staff. In this training, we'll provide the essential tools and knowledge you need to successfully navigate the student employment lifecycle. Whether you're hiring your first student employee or managing a large team, this training is designed to help you stay compliant, efficient, and successful. We've organized this training into key sections: a student employment overview, federal work study versus student wage positions, laws and regulations, work hours and time reporting, the recruiting and hiring process, onboarding and supervisor responsibilities, terminations, and a final recap with some resources to help you along the way. All supporting documents, guides, and templates are available on the Student Employer Resources website. Section 1. What is student employment? The Student Employment Team is a dedicated group of professionals and student staff who manage the full lifecycle of hourly student employment at GW, from recruitment to offboarding. But our role goes beyond processing paperwork. We administer the GW Federal Work-Study Program, maintain employment data, manage our talent management platform, provide customer support to students and employers, and design strategic programs that connect compliance with student and departmental growth. Our team is organized into 3 functional areas: recruiting and onboarding, hiring, finance and terminations, and training and resource development. Each year, we hire over 4,500 student staff in nearly 6,000 positions for over 200 departments on campus and a dozen off-campus site partners. And we support hundreds of supervisors and hiring managers. We do this by overseeing I-9 completion, reviewing and approving job postings and hire proposals, sending offer letters, and ensuring students are assigned the correct onboarding tasks. We also process new and updated employment records in Banner, manage supervisor changes, and handle both individual and bulk terminations. Additionally, student employment oversees the GW Federal Work-Study Program, including payroll reconciliations, off-campus partner contracts, invoicing, time reporting processes, and annual reporting required by the Department of Education. Finally, we support thousands of managers and students through proactive communication, resource development, training opportunities, and recognition events. At its core, our work ensures your department remains compliant with federal laws, local regulations, and university policies. We are here to navigate the red tape and create efficient processes so you can focus on mentoring your student staff. Section 2. Federal work study versus non-federal work study. When hiring a student employment position, it is important to understand the 2 primary types of hourly paid positions our team manages: federal work study and non-federal work study. Non-federal work study is often called student wage. While the day-to-day work will look the same to the student, the administrative and financial structures behind the 2 position types are different. Federal work study is a form of federal financial aid. Because it is a federally funded program, it comes with specific regulatory requirements. The Department of Education requires that the employer cover at least 25% of the student's earnings. So at GW, federal work study funds cover 75% of the student's earnings, while your department only pays the remaining 25%. This is a major benefit to the department's budget. Federal work study is available primarily to domestic undergraduate students who have federal work study included in their financial aid package. Domestic graduate students can specifically apply to be considered for federal work study through financial aid, but only a few dozen graduate students are offered federal work study a year. Federal work study positions only run from the start of the fall semester to the end of the spring semester. Additionally, a student may only hold 1 federal work study position at a time, and retroactive hires and pay are not permitted for federal work study positions. Lastly, earnings are capped based on the student's specific federal work study offer. Both the supervisor and the student must track hours carefully to ensure the student does not exceed their allotted amount. Student employment also monitors federal work study balances and will send monitoring and termination emails to the student and supervisor when balances reach certain thresholds. Prior to terminating the student from the federal work-study position due to exhausted funds, student employment works with the Office of Student Financial Aid to determine whether the student's offer amount can be increased. Also, please note that the remaining amounts available in Banner on the student's G-Web account and to the timekeeper on the university's time reporting system are only as of the last pay date, so this balance is always multiple weeks behind what the student has actually worked. If a position is not funded by federal work-study, it falls under non-federal work-study or student wage. For this position type, the hiring department is responsible for 100% of the student's earnings, and these positions are open to both domestic and international students. Regardless of the position type, several core policies apply to all hourly student employees at GW. All positions are open only to registered GW undergraduate and graduate students. Compensation is based on the job duties and required experience, not the student's degree level. All students are paid on a bi-weekly basis. All work must be performed within the United States. All student employees are eligible for sick leave accrual. Student employees cannot volunteer for the same work as a paid position. And all required training must occur after the employee has been fully hired. Please note all onboarding and training must be paid time worked. Understanding these distinctions helps you plan your departmental budget and your business needs. Section 3. Laws and Regulations. Student employment practices are governed by several key federal and state laws and university policies. The Fair Labor Standards Act, through the Department of Labor, states that student positions are considered non-exempt. As non-exempt hourly employees, they are eligible for overtime pay if they exceed 40 hours in a work week, and they must be paid for all time worked on the assigned payday. This includes any mandatory training or orientation. Federal work-study regulations from the Department of Education include requirements that students cannot work during their scheduled class times, they cannot displace full-time employees, they must have a full-time staff or faculty supervisor, and that the positions must have a formal job description on file. I-9 regulations set by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services have very specific employee and employer requirements that are time-bound. To comply with these regulations, student employment at GW requires that the student complete Parts 1 and 2 of the I-9 before we clear the student to begin work. Part 2 of the I-9 requires the employee to present original documents to support the I-9 in person. We cannot accept photos, photocopies, or scans. Student employment provides appointment availability and requirements in the student's onboarding checklists. Please do not refer the student to other campus departments to complete the I-9. Because we are based in DC, we also adhere to some of the country's strictest labor laws. First is the DC Wage Theft Prevention Amendment Act. This law includes mandated written notice of employment terms, precise record keeping, strict final pay schedules, and severe penalties for violators. GW fulfills the law's requirements through the formal offer letter and automated wage notifications. Additionally, we are legally required to record the precise time worked for the employee. To comply, students must clock in and out using the university's time reporting system. To ensure they are paid on time, the department's timekeeper must approve their hours by the biweekly deadline listed on the payroll services calendar. The DC Accrued Sick and Safe Leave Act is a complicated and very nuanced law. For this training, we will address how GW complies with the legislation regarding paid sick time for student employees. At GW, student employees accrue paid sick time beginning on their hire date. Sick time accrues at a rate of 1 hour for every 30 hours worked, up to a maximum of 7 days per year. Accrued sick time is credited on the last working day of each month and cannot be used before it has officially accrued. Students may use their earned sick time during their employment with their manager's approval. When requesting sick leave, student employees must use the university's time reporting system. If you are new to the system, helpful micro-tutorials and user guides are available on the GW Benefits Time Off webpage. In some cases, student employees may also be eligible for additional protections under the DC Family and Medical Leave Act. For more detailed information about leave policies, students and their supervisors are encouraged to review GW Benefits Time Off and Leave Guide or contact GW Benefits directly at timeoff@gwu.edu. Finally, we maintain a safe and equitable campus through our equal employment opportunity and background screening policies. The George Washington University is an equal opportunity employer committed to maintaining a non-discriminatory, harassment-free, and diverse work environment. The university does not unlawfully discriminate on the basis of protected characteristics or on any other basis prohibited by applicable law in any of its programs or activities. As a supervisor or hiring manager, you are expected to follow the university's equal employment opportunity policy and our standardized recruiting procedures. Lastly, background screenings are required for roles that are financially, safety, or security sensitive, such as those handling cash, working with minors, accessing sensitive data, or having access to university offices or building spaces. If a position requires a screening, the student cannot begin work until the results are cleared. Once cleared, a student's screening is valid for 5 years. For more detailed information on when a background check is required, please review the GW Background Screening Policy. Section 4. Work hours and time reporting. At GW, student employment policies are designed to support academic success while ensuring compliance with federal and university regulations. Domestic student employees do not have a formal hours limit. However, working no more than 20 hours per week during the semester is strongly recommended. International students on an F1 visa are limited to working 20 hours per week while classes are in session and should confirm their eligibility with the International Services Office. Specific weekly hour limits may be in place when students hold other types of positions not managed by student employment, such as graduate assistant and graduate research assistant positions through the Office of Student Graduate Assistantships and Fellowships. Students should refer to the other hiring departments for specific requirements for their other positions. Because student employees are non-exempt, meal period and break policies also apply. A meal period is not paid only if it qualifies as a bona fide meal period under the Fair Labor Standards Act. This means the student must be completely free from work duties for at least 30 uninterrupted minutes. If a student performs any work during that time, even answering phones or responding to emails, the time must be paid. If the meal period is less than 30 minutes, it must also be treated as paid time worked. Breaks of 20 minutes or less are considered time work and must be paid. While breaks are not legally required in most cases, departments may implement structured breaks based on operational needs. Finally, accurate time reporting is essential. Students must record all hours worked, and department timekeepers must promptly review and approve time in the university time reporting system. This must be emphasized especially to newly onboarded students. All time worked must be compensated in accordance with federal and state laws as well as university policy. Section 5. Recruiting process. Ready to grow your team? Let's move on to the recruiting process. If you're new to the system, don't worry. Every new hiring manager receives a comprehensive user's guide with step-by-step instructions to get you started. It is important to first note that all recruiting must occur within the Student Employment Talent Management System, also known as People Admin. You may not use separate recruiting or application submission methods, such as websites, social media, Google Forms, or email-only applications. To ensure equity in pay and proper classification, we use 3 key tools. First, the Student Employment Wage Matrix. This document is updated annually in line with the DC minimum wage. It provides pay ranges for structured support levels, ensuring students are fairly compensated based on the complexity of their roles. Second, the Student Employment Position Standards and Descriptions document. This document includes a library of all the student employment job titles and standard descriptions, along with the position number and pay ranges for the position. We use consistent titles based on job duties and required qualifications. This doesn't just ensure internal equity, it also provides students with professional titles that translate clearly to their resumes for future internships and careers. This is also the title that will be used to verify employment on their future background checks. As such, departments are discouraged from using working job titles that differ from their official title. Third, the Student Employment Recruiting Procedures and Requirements document. The purpose of this document is to ensure job opportunities are available to all students who are qualified for the role and to address when positions may be exempt from a competitive recruitment process, as well as when the position may have GPA, degree level, and other academic requirements. Here are some of the highlights from the Procedures and Requirements document. You may only restrict a posting based on academic criteria under specific circumstances. You can only limit a role to graduate students if it requires high-level access to sensitive student or employee data, will create a conflict of interest, requires assistance for a graduate-level class, or requires graduate-level expertise, not applicable to entry-level roles. You may have a specific GPA requirement only if the student is providing tutoring services, coaching others on academic success, or serving as an academic assistant for a course in which they must have received a specified grade. Lastly, to limit applicants to an internal pool selected by the department, you would request a waiver of posting. However, one of the following criteria must be met. The student must have worked for your specific department within the last year. The position is a promotion within the same department, for example, moving from a level 1 to level 2 in the same role. The student is transitioning from a non-federal work study to federal work study for the exact same position. You are conducting an interdepartmental search and can demonstrate that you will advertise the role to all students who meet the criteria. For example, you will email the posting to all students who have taken a specific class that is a requirement for the position. And finally, you are hiring from a previous applicant pool for the same academic year. Now that you understand the titling, pay, and recruitment standards, you are ready to take the first step by submitting the posting for student employment approval. We will not cover step-by-step instructions in this training video, but hiring managers will have those instructions and access to short instructional videos in their hiring manager guide. Once you submit your postings, we review each submission to ensure the job description matches the title level, the wage is appropriate, and it meets recruitment standards. Once the position is live, students will be able to view and apply to the posting on their applicant portal. The hiring manager receives email confirmation when the position is posted and closed. However, emails are not sent each time an applicant applies. Departments can also have guest users for posting, allowing other individuals in a department to review applications directly in the system. To keep the process manageable and to ensure that applicant pools are not excessive, we monitor the number of applicants for each posting. We allow 30 applicants for the first opening, plus 10 for each additional opening. So if you have 2 openings for the posting, you will be allowed 40 applications. Once that cap is reached, we'll automatically close the posting. To continue receiving applications, you will need to position any candidates you are not interested in and email us to reopen the posting. Speaking of dispositioning, applicant dispositioning is the process of categorizing and documenting the final status of the application. For example, recommended for hire, interviewed, withdrew, etc., and the specific reasons for their non-selection. In the talent management system, hiring managers must update the applicant status within 4 weeks of the application date. Based on the selected status, the student will receive an automatic email notification. All disposition statuses and email triggers are listed on the Student Employment Disposition Information Sheet. One of the most frequent complaints we receive from students is a lack of timely feedback. To help address this, we have a proactive monitoring process for applicant dispositions. If an application remains in the review by hiring manager state for 20 days, the hiring manager will receive a reminder email to review it. If no action is taken by week 4, student employment will automatically update the status to Department Did Not Disposition. This triggers a notification to the student, allowing them to continue their job search. Further, the department will lose access to the application. Departments should not rely on this process to disposition their candidates. It is simply a backup when a timely disposition cannot be made. Pro tip: if you like a candidate but aren't ready to hire yet, move them to an interview or runner-up status. No email will be sent to the student, and this prevents their application from being closed and keeps them in your pipeline. Section 6. Hiring process. Once you have identified your top candidate, the next phase is the hiring proposal. This is the formal bridge between your selection and the student being cleared to work. At every step of the hire proposal process, the department hiring manager will receive progress updates by email. They can likewise see the status of the hire proposal directly in People Admin. Here is how the hire proposal workflow moves through the system. The process begins with the hiring manager. They will move the selected candidate to the recommended for hire state and start the hiring proposal in People Admin. This is where you confirm the final details: the proposed start date, the hourly rate, supervisor, timekeeper information, the work location, etc. After you submit the hiring proposal, the first stop is student employment to verify the accuracy of the rate, student status, and federal work-study offer if applicable. From there, if your department requires approval from the finance director, we will move it accordingly. Next comes the official offer letter. Student employment will send the student an offer letter for them to sign digitally through their applicant portal. Please touch base with the student to encourage them to sign the offer letter quickly. After we receive the signed offer letter, we will forward the proposal to HR to initiate a background check or confirm that one is on file as required for the position. The student will receive an email from the background check vendor to complete the check. After the student completes the background check invitation, it typically takes 1 to 3 business days to process. Next, student employment will start the onboarding process with the student if they have never worked for GW. The most important task they will receive is completing the I-9. We will not process the hire in Banner or clear the student to start work until Part 2 of the I-9 is completed. As mentioned earlier, the student will receive instructions on completing the I-9 in our office. Students who complete their I-9 with other departments on campus will likely have their hire significantly delayed, as the I-9 system and People Admin are not integrated. If the student has worked with GW previously and we have a valid I-9 on file, the final step is for our team to add the employment records to Banner. This usually occurs within 1 to 2 business days. Additional delays may occur at the beginning of the fall semester due to a significant increase in hiring. Student employment will use the current day as the start date if the requested date has already passed, or the requested future start date. The hiring manager and student will receive email confirmation once the hired record is complete, and then you can move forward with scheduling the student's first day. The student will appear in the time reporting system and on the student's G-Web account the day after the hire is complete, or for future dated hires, on the start date of the position. If future updates to the position's rate, funding source, start date, or supervisor are needed, the hiring manager can submit the request through the Employee Records portal and People Admin. Hiring managers, please refer to your hiring manager guide for step-by-step instructions. Section 7. Onboarding and supervisor responsibilities. Once your student's hire has been officially completed, it is important to start off on the right foot with their onboarding in your department. Supervising a student is different from supervising a full-time staff member. For many, this is their first experience in a professional office environment. They are in a major life transition, learning autonomy and discovering their professional identities. As a supervisor, your responsibility is to help shape positive workplace habits. Don't assume obvious professional norms are known. Instead, spend time at the very start emphasizing basics such as punctuality, requesting time off, and departmental work rules and expectations. Success begins with clarity. We recommend breaking your expectations into 2 categories. First, performance. What are the daily tasks? What does success look like in this role? Next is behavior. What is the expected professional conduct for your specific team? Review these expectations during the interview and again on the first day. Keep a written record of these goals for the student to reference and hold periodic reviews to highlight their strengths and areas for growth. Effective onboarding ensures your student feels like a valued part of the team from day one. Before they arrive, prepare their workspace and send an introductory email to your team. On day one, give the student a tour of the office space, including the unspoken things like where to find extra supplies or the kitchen. Introduce them to team members, and provide written manuals or policies on office-specific etiquette, such as cell phone use, dress codes, and doing homework during work hours. During the first month, schedule regular check-ins. Encourage questions and address any performance issues early. It is much easier to correct a behavior in week 2 than in month 6. When training your student on new tasks, we recommend the tell, show, do, review approach. Tell them what they are doing and why it matters. Show them exactly how to do it. Let them perform the task under your supervision, then independently. Then follow up later to ensure they still feel confident. Finally, keep feedback constructive and private. Be specific in your examples and focus on how they can be improved. When you show trust to your student employees, they are more motivated to meet and exceed your expectations. Section 8, Terminations. While we love seeing our students grow in their positions, every student-employment relationship eventually comes to an end. It is vital that these transitions are recorded in the Employee Records Portal and People Admin and Banner to ensure our data remains accurate and system security is maintained. As a hiring manager, you must manually initiate a termination in Employee Records if the student is no longer working for your department, the student is going on a study abroad, the student has resigned or reached the end of a temporary appointment, the student is being released following an unsuccessful performance management period as documented in a performance improvement plan. A quick note on break periods. You do not need to terminate students during the winter and summer breaks if they are expected to return in the following semester. We allow these positions to remain active. The student employment team manages several types of automatic terminations. Under the following circumstances, the student will be automatically terminated from their position. Number 1. If the student graduates, the student's employment will be terminated. We can only employ active and registered students in student positions. As such, we send a notice 1 month in advance to both the supervisor and the graduating student employee that their positions will soon end. If you wish to keep a graduate on staff, you must contact your HR business partner to transition them into a non-student temporary position. 2. If a student's federal work-study allotment is maxed out, or when the federal work-study program ends for the academic year, the position will be terminated. You may choose to rehire the student into a non-federal work-study position if your budget allows. Please note that you can request that student employment hire federal work-study students for the equivalent non-federal work-study position in the federal work-study hire proposal so that the position is active and ready to go when the federal work-study position ends. 3. The next scenario that will cause an automatic termination is an I-9 expiration. For international students or those with expiring work authorization, we will work with them in advance to re-verify. If they fail to provide updated documents, the position is automatically terminated to maintain federal compliance. 4. If the department requested a future end date on the initial hire proposal, student employment will add this end date to the job record after the hire is complete. If the future term date is requested, a new hire proposal will be required to extend the employee's time with the department. 5. As a last resort, and to keep our records up to date, any student who has not earned a paycheck in 180 days will be automatically terminated from their position through a pay purge process managed by Human Resources. Section 9. Recap and Resources. We have covered a lot of ground today, from understanding the different types of student positions to navigating the legal landscape and the life cycle of a student employee. Let's quickly recap the key points to remember as you move forward. Number 1, know your funding. Understand whether you are hiring for a federal work-study position, which is 75% federally funded, or a student wage position, which is 100% departmentally funded. And if you are hiring for a federal work-study position, determine if you have department funds available to continue employing the student after the program ends or if they run out of funding. Number 2, compliance is critical. Understand the regulations, policies, and procedures governing student recruiting and hiring. 2 of the most important policies are: students must complete their I-9 and be cleared by student employment before starting any work, and to ensure your students are recording their hours correctly in the time reporting system. 3, timely feedback. Use the talent management system to disposition your applicants within 4 weeks to avoid automatic system updates and to ensure students receive timely feedback. 4, clear expectations. Success starts with onboarding. Set clear performance and behavioral expectations from day 1 and use the tell, show, do, review method for training. 5, lifecycle management. Ensure you terminate student positions when they leave your department to maintain accurate data and system security. You don't have to navigate this process alone. We have developed a robust library of tools to support you. The Student Employer Resources website is your hub for all support documentation, step-by-step guides, and templates for every stage of the employee lifecycle. Also, visit our training and event page to find upcoming training opportunities. If you need specific help with performance management or planning your department's workforce needs, you can schedule a support appointment with our team. The Student Employment Team is always here to help. You can reach us via email at gwse@gwu.edu or by calling 202-994-8046. Thank you for your commitment to mentoring GW students and for your partnership in making student employment a success at GW.